The rain had already soaked through his jacket by the time Daniel Carter reached the tall glass tower downtown. The cardboard package in his hands was damp around the edges, its corners soft and sagging from the storm. To anyone passing by, he looked like just another exhausted delivery driver trying to finish a shift. But Daniel wasn't supposed to be there. Not tonight. Not with that package. And certainly not with the secret he had just discovered inside it. Because 10 minutes earlier, Daniel Carter had opened a box that could change his entire life, and possibly destroy someone else's. If you believe kindness still exists in this world, and that people deserve second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Daniel Carter was 32 years old, but life had carved deeper lines across his face than most men his age. 3 years earlier, his wife Emily had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him alone to raise their 4-year-old daughter Lily. The grief had nearly swallowed him whole. There were nights when the silence in their small apartment felt heavier than the air itself. But every morning Lily would wake up, climb into his arms, and remind him why he had to keep going. Being a single father was never part of Daniel's plan. Yet every day he learned to braid Lily's hair the way Emily used to, pack tiny lunches with cartoon napkins, and read bedtime stories even when exhaustion blurred the words on the page. To survive financially, Daniel worked long shifts delivering packages across the city for a courier service. The job barely paid enough to cover rent, daycare, groceries, and medical bills that still lingered from Emily's treatment. Many nights he skipped meals so Lily wouldn't have to. But despite everything, Daniel carried one quiet rule in his heart: no matter how hard life became, he would never stop being honest. That rule was about to be tested. Earlier that evening, the rain had started suddenly, turning the streets into rivers of flashing headlights and rushing water. Daniel had only one delivery left on his route, a package addressed to Harrison Whitmore, the powerful CEO of Whitmore Technologies. Whitmore Tower was the tallest building in the financial district. A monument of steel and glass that seemed to scrape the sky itself. When Daniel arrived at the address, the security desk informed him that Mr. Whitmore had already left the office hours ago. "Return it tomorrow," the guard said casually. But Daniel glanced at the shipping label and noticed the bold red stamp across the front. Urgent, personal delivery. He knew delays could get him written up. Too many mistakes and the company would replace him without hesitation. So he decided to wait. 20 minutes passed in the rain before Daniel finally accepted that the CEO wasn't coming back. The building lights were dimming one floor at a time. With a sigh, he climbed back into his van and started driving toward the warehouse to return the package. But halfway there, something strange caught his attention. The box had split open slightly from the rain. Inside, he could see a thick manila envelope. Daniel hesitated. He knew he shouldn't open it. But the envelope had no seal, and water had already seeped inside. If the contents were important, they might get ruined. So carefully, he slid the envelope out just enough to check if anything needed protection. What he saw made his heart stop. Stacks of legal documents filled the envelope, along with photographs and a small velvet pouch. Inside the pouch was a diamond ring so brilliant it caught the dim light of the van and scattered it across the windshield. Daniel froze. This wasn't just expensive. It looked like something worth tens of thousands of dollars. He quickly looked back at the paperwork. The documents appeared to be ownership transfer papers, investment contracts, and something labeled personal trust agreement. Daniel felt his stomach twist. One ring like that could pay off Emily's hospital debt. It could secure Lily's future. It could change everything. But Daniel knew the truth instantly. None of it belonged to him. For a long moment, he sat there listening to the rain hit the roof of the van. The temptation whispered quietly. No one had seen him open it. No one would ever know. But another thought rose louder in his mind. Lily. What kind of father would he be if he built her future on something stolen? Slowly, Daniel placed the envelope back into the package and taped the box shut as best as he could. Then he turned the van around. Instead of returning it to the warehouse, Daniel drove back toward Whitmore Tower. He would deliver it personally tomorrow morning. But when he arrived at the building entrance again, something unexpected happened. A black luxury car pulled up beside him. The rear door opened. And stepping out into the rain was Harrison Whitmore himself. Tall, sharply dressed, and carrying the calm authority of someone used to running billion-dollar companies. Whitmore noticed Daniel standing there holding the package. Their eyes met. Daniel stepped forward and explained that the package had gotten wet during delivery and he had brought it back personally to ensure nothing inside was damaged. Whitmore's expression shifted slightly. Not anger. Curiosity. He took the package, opened it right there under the lobby lights, and checked the contents. Everything was exactly as it should be. Whitmore slowly looked up at Daniel again. Most people in Daniel's position would never have returned something like this. Whitmore knew that. Executives in his own company had stolen far less valuable things. Why bring it back tonight? Whitmore asked quietly. Daniel simply shrugged. Because it's yours. Whitmore studied him carefully. Then something unexpected happened. Whitmore asked Daniel to come upstairs. Daniel hesitated, confused, but followed. Inside the top-floor office, the city lights stretched endlessly across the skyline. Whitmore poured 2 glasses of water and handed one to Daniel. For a long moment, the CEO said nothing. Then he finally spoke. The ring in that package was meant for Whitmore's daughter. Tomorrow morning he planned to propose on behalf of his late wife's final wish, a family heirloom passed down for generations. If it had been lost, it would have broken his daughter's heart. Whitmore looked at Daniel again. And yet you brought it back. Daniel simply said it was the right thing to do. Whitmore leaned back in his chair and smiled faintly. You know, he said slowly, most people who walk through that door are trying to take something from me. He paused. You're the first person in a long time who gave something back. Whitmore then asked Daniel about his life. About Lily. About Emily. About the long nights and the struggle to keep going. By the time Daniel finished, the rain had stopped outside. Whitmore stood and walked toward the window. Then he made a decision that would change Daniel's life. Whitmore offered him a job. Not as a delivery driver. But as a logistics manager for Whitmore Technologies. A stable salary. Health insurance. Flexible hours so he could raise Lily. Daniel was speechless. All because he returned a package. Whitmore simply said something Daniel would never forget. Integrity is rarer than talent. I can teach someone business. I cannot teach them honesty. Daniel left the tower that night with tears in his eyes. When he arrived home, Lily ran into his arms. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something he hadn't allowed himself to feel since Emily passed away. Hope. But before we reach the end of this story, we want to ask you something special. If this story is touching your heart so far, please write in the comments, kindness always returns. Because stories like Daniel's remind us that doing the right thing may not always be easy, but it always matters. Months later, Daniel stood in a beautiful park watching Lily chase butterflies while laughing in the sunlight. Life was still challenging. But it was no longer hopeless. And every time Daniel thought about that rainy night and the decision he made inside that van, he realized something powerful. Sometimes the smallest acts of honesty open the biggest doors in life. If this story moved you, touched your heart, or reminded you that goodness still exists in the world, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this. Your support helps these stories reach people who need them the most.